Now, in Pakistan, 70% of our population lives in rural areas. Even in the urban areas, there is a very selected portion of the society whom you would call the liberals, the seculars. Now, let's, for example, talk about Lahore. If you have spent an Eid over here, or any such public thing, a holiday or a festival, you will see that most of the Lahore becomes empty. Why? People go back to their villages. They want to go back to their villages and celebrate their
I think to the tune of 3 million people leave the city during the Eid.
Absolutely. And that is true for most of the cities, barring maybe Karachi to some degree. Now, what I'm trying to say is, you see, that the common man, the man who walks in the street, has a different perception altogether. So far as our liberals are concerned, or the secularists as you would like to call them, there is a huge disconnect between them and the common man.
And in the same vein, let's say that within the sphere of modernism, we have on the one side, within this country in Pakistan, the liberal secular whom Ms. Yasmin has called the pseudo-liberals, because she thinks that they are not really truly aware of the ideals of liberalism as conceived in Europe and America. Their counterpart within the sphere of modernism are the leftists, for example. To what extent they are a good guide towards achieving the objectives of a socialist society, which purportedly they are after?
Well, I mean, what's happened to the leftists in Pakistan is what has happened to the leftists throughout the globe over the past 20 years. Complete abandonment of leftist ideals, the classical leftist ideals, and very dangerously, some of them openly have become openly fascists. If you look at the neoconservatives in the United States, if you look at the intellectual lineage of the neoconservatives, almost all of them were, in the 60s, they were Trotskyite leftists.
That's right.
And they have now become more conservatives than the conservatives.
That's right.
Similarly, the leftists in Pakistan, who would mistake today's leftists for the moderate leftism of, let's say, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. I mean, look at Zulfikar Ali Bhutto's foreign policy. Look at his economic policy. Look at his domestic policy. Where are the leftists who are upholding those same ideals? They are hardly to be found.
This reminds me that even Benito Mussolini, who spearheaded on one hand in Germany, there's Nazism going on, and then there's Italy during the Second World War, which also experienced this wave of fascism. And Mussolini, was he not a leftist also in his earlier on in his life?
I personally am not aware of Mussolini's biography.
And we can ask this question in the context of the Arab world. Where are all those leftists from the 1960s and 70s that were under the banner of Arab nationalism? And so what happened to them?
Exactly. I mean, I think, for example, Saddam Hussein is a perfect example. On one hand, he's a leftist. But then when he's actually in power, he's ruling like a fascist. And definitely after the collapse of the Berlin Wall, very interesting things happened among the Arab leftists. Many of them became either fascists, but a good percentage of them turned to Islam and a very particular type of Islam.
This brings me to a very interesting observation, that the entry of left into Islam, one of the very well-known groups called the Islamic Left, was founded by one of our colleagues from Cairo University, Hassan Hanafi. And I had some discussions with him also, and so we asked him, I said, how do you fuse Islam and left? I mean, what is the
meeting point?
The meeting point, in a sense that, of course, there has been the concept of charity and the concept of giving and so forth, and communalism, which is shared by Islam and other religions as well. But I asked him that people do not trust you. That people call you as a watermelon Muslims. You're green on the outside, but you're red inside. And so he has no legitimacy, either from the left, because the left suspects him for his too much involvement in religion, and religion is the opium of the masses for the left. And the Islamists or the Muslim groups in general, they suspect him because they say, well, he's too deep